Hi, my name is Liz Benn, and I'm a senior coordinator of baseball operations at Major League Baseball. And one of the primary focuses of my job at baseball is to focus on women and girls in baseball, whether that's women getting careers in baseball or girls pursuing their dreams on the playing field in our youth baseball development events. So I'm going to share a bit of a presentation that goes over some of MLB's initiatives that support women and girls in baseball. So there are a few different areas where we have some goals for women and girls in baseball. So we focus on baseball's culture, women in the diversity pipeline program, or those who are seeking careers in baseball, and our youth girls baseball development events. When I speak about baseball's culture, what I really mean is that we are trying to get more women into baseball. We are excited when women do break into different positions, but we need to make sure that baseball is also ready to accept them. And so that means that we need to engage in different things like education for players, staff on respect and inclusion, so that they can accept and value the women who are working alongside of them. We need to prepare proper accommodations for women working in baseball. For example, locker rooms. We need to make sure that there is equal access to locker rooms and other facilities, and anything else that women really need in order to succeed in their jobs in baseball. Finally, also, we realize that there's a huge need and benefit to women having a community and support system for one another in baseball. So we try to facilitate those kinds of relationships and communities as much as we can as well. So diving into professional development, our real goal here is to increase the number of qualified coaches, scouts, baseball operations personnel, and anybody else who's really working in who wants to work in areas of baseball where women are currently underrepresented. We want to increase that number of candidates, of qualified candidates, support them in their development, and then also support women who are working in these roles already so that they can continue to work in baseball and do a great job and advance in their organizations. So we do this through several different ways. The umbrella term would be the diversity pipeline program. And really that's the program that any diversity efforts for baseball operations and on-field operations would fall into at MLB. So that's kind of an umbrella term. Take the Field is a professional development event that we're expanding this year. I will talk about that in a minute, but that is focused primarily on women interested in careers in coaching, scouting, player development, and baseball operations. The Diversity Fellowship Program is a fantastic opportunity for candidates to get front office experience for the first time. This is really directed mostly at those who are just leaving college, and also former players in some instances as well. But this is an opportunity to work with a club or in our office, the commissioner's office, for a few years, which should kind of introduce that candidate to careers in baseball and have them advance in the industry. We also, of course, provide individual mentorship and guidance, whether that looks like speaking to somebody who was a player and now they're transitioning into potentially working in baseball, doing some interview preparation with people who get interviews for prospective jobs, and also just supporting women when they are in the game so that they feel, again, support from our office, but also get some advice as they're kind of navigating the industry and advancing in their fields. And finally, our girls baseball development programs serve as an opportunity for professional development as well, which again, I'll talk about in a few minutes. So Take the Field was created as a conference for women to attend at the baseball winter meetings in 2018. But since then it has grown, which is very exciting. So we were able to hold it in person for 2 years, in 2018 and 2019. Those 2 years we focused mostly on coaching, scouting, player development, as well as umpiring and training, both athletic training and mental performance coaches in the first year. It's a 2-day conference, and a number of MLB club personnel come in to facilitate sessions with the candidates who are women who are seeking jobs in baseball. So they'll facilitate small breakout sessions. So there will be around 8 women or 8 potential career candidates at a table with 1 to 2 people who work at clubs already, and they get to really dive in depth into different topics related to the careers that those women are interested in pursuing. We also have panels of women in baseball, industry professional development. So things like, what do you need to have on your resume? What are some interview skills to have? And just any kind of hard kind of pieces of information that would help these women succeed in pursuing their careers in baseball. We also have mock interviews, which often end up becoming real interviews, where the women will interview with people who are currently working in those roles that they're interested in at clubs. And sometimes these do end up becoming real interviews and people will get hired from them. So in 2018 and 2019, we had a total of 83 participants, and 41 of those participants had some type of baseball experience after the event. By baseball experience, I really mean they've had an interview, they got hired into a job, they had an internship, or they've continued their development somehow. For example, somebody who's interested in scouting maybe went and shadowed some scouts from MLB teams that summer to kind of gain more knowledge and experience. We've also had 24 hires post-event, which is a pretty good percentage of the attendees. And we also had nearly all the clubs represented at these events. And as you can see here too, over 30 club personnel actually attended as instructors for the events. And so the women who attended these events got to meet so many different people who could become their colleagues in the future. In 2020, of course, we had to host the event virtually, but we actually used that as an opportunity to grow the event. So rather than just targeting women who are trying to get jobs in baseball, we also geared it towards women who currently work in baseball. So we actually had 209 current club employees, all women, attend the event and receive some professional development in December 2020. So that was a huge number, and it was great to have all of them kind of come on. We also had 64 diversity pipeline program candidates. And so in total, we had almost 300 women on these calls in this development program in 2020. So we're definitely going to look to see how we can kind of integrate the virtual aspects with the in-person aspects going back kind of to normal or going forward in 2021. Some notable Take the Field alumni are Veronica Alvarez. You'll see there with the Oakland Athletics. She's also the manager of the USA Baseball Women's National Team. On the bottom is Alyssa Nacken, who is the first ever female major league coach. And on the right, you'll see Bianca Smith, who recently got hired by the Boston Red Sox, and she is the first ever female Black coach in baseball. So our girls' baseball growth and development, we're really focusing on a couple different areas. So one would be the grassroots growth, or the lower level, the younger kids, just growth of the game. The second is development opportunities. So that's the more elite development that we do. And then we also like to introduce the participants to opportunities available through baseball. We just spoke about the pipeline program. And so we introduce the pipeline and careers in baseball to these girls when they are in these development events primarily, because that allows them to start thinking about careers in baseball or their place in baseball at a pretty young age. And so we have seen that some of them do want to work in baseball in the future. And what we're also able to do at these girls' baseball development events is utilize them as a development opportunity for those who are in the pipeline program. So if somebody is interested in coaching, we might be able to bring them into a girls' baseball development event to get some more coaching experience there. So the total number of girls impacted by our in-person development events alone is 256. And so these events are still fairly new. The first one took place in 2017, but we've impacted over 250 girls now through the development events. Of course, the number is even bigger when you talk about the grassroots elements and kind of our scouting showcase element, which I'll talk about in a second. So our grassroots development is really aimed at growing locally based girls baseball organizations. So we want to grow baseball generally, we want to grow girls baseball. And so in order to do that, we're really partnering with some local organizations who have girls baseball programming or want to start girls baseball programming, and we'll support them as they grow those programs and develop them so that they kind of get bigger and bigger every year. We think that this is a really good way to do this because it's supporting playing opportunities at the local level, which we know are a bit more accessible than national tournaments or regional showcases where there's a lot of travel involved. There might be financial barriers, but this locally based baseball programming should be more accessible just because it's easier to get to. Logistically, it's often a lot cheaper than those other opportunities. So this is how we think we'll actually be able to grow the sport. Since starting to do this through our RBI program, we've affiliated 14 girls baseball organizations. And so that's a good number to start with, but of course we want to keep growing there. We've also seen that some of our MLB teams have started to support these organizations as well with resources, facilities, or staff to kind of help grow the programs. So one of the key elements of our girls baseball programming is the development events. And so these are the events where we really target actual baseball on-field elite. So there are a few different ways that we do this. In 2020, we were able to host in January and February, before everything was locked down, an identification tour, which kind of acted as a scouting showcase for girls in baseball. So 13 to 18-year-olds could come out for a one-day event, be evaluated, and then we invited the top performers from those events to future programming. And you can see here too that we hosted those in 5 different cities. So San Francisco, California, Los Angeles, California, Vero Beach, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, and New York, where we all are based from the commissioner's office. We then hosted Trailblazer Series virtually. This is kind of after the shutdown, but normally Trailblazer Series is an in-person development event for 11 to 13-year-old girls. So it's still pretty young, but we're targeting the girls at that age because that's typically when they're kind of started to be pushed into softball. And so we want to encourage them that if they want to keep playing baseball, they should, and that we support them. So it's a really great opportunity for them. In the fall, we held Elite Development Invitational, which was a 13-week virtual development program targeted towards high school baseball players. So we had over 200 girls attend the event over the 13 weeks. And it was structured so that there was development. So a lot of focus on mental performance, strength and conditioning, and different things that the girls can kind of focus on at home. And when some of them might be doing some baseball activities as cities started to reopen a little bit. And then we also focused on other topics like college recruitment, careers in baseball, and other kind of off-field topics that would be helpful for these girls in their development. We also held weekly check-in sessions, and so small groups of girls would get together every week and we would go through goal setting, kind of checking in and keeping each other accountable for the goals that were set the previous week. Because this was virtual, we were able to reach a much broader audience than we normally could. We had participants from the US, Canada, Costa Rica, Australia, and Belgium. So we really turned this event into a global event because it was virtual and so a lot more accessible to people. In a typical year too, we will host an event called Breakthrough Series, and that is an in-person development event focused on high school athletes. So it's often the top athletes from the US and a few from Canada. We'll bring them in, and then they'll have around 5 days of really serious development with national team members and 4 major league players. As you can see here, many of the participants from our events are now playing in the Women's Baseball World Cup or the World Cup qualifiers. You can see there are 5 from the US, 1 from Puerto Rico, and I believe that's 8 from Canada who are now on their women's national teams after attending some of our development events. In addition to their success kind of on the field, we're seeing these girls move on into pretty incredible roles after they finish high school. So we've seen an uptick in women playing college baseball, which is all men's in the US. And so they're the only girl on the team, the only woman on the team, but they're achieving this level and they're succeeding a lot. So you'll see here on the left is Marika Lissick, who's actually Canadian. She attended MLB Grit. She was scouted at our event, and then she got into Riviera University for baseball. And so she's making kind of really big strides in that space, but we've seen several other girls follow in her footsteps too. On the right, you see Madison Femia, who was an attendee of many of our events over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. And she actually decided when she was finished high school that she wanted to go into coaching. So she chose her college based on where she would be able to coach. She got that job, which is pretty incredible for an 18-year-old to go into college as a coach. But then she was also just recently hired as a professional coach in an independent league. So again, as an 18-year-old coming from our program, she's going to be coaching professional men's baseball this summer, which is just absolutely remarkable. In 2021, our programming for both the professional development side and the girls baseball side, of course, we're trying to get a little bit more back to normal. So take the field, we've seen how expanding the program just a little bit by now including current club personnel has kind of elevated the profile of the event and also its effect on all of the participants. And so we're going to keep expanding this program to cover more areas. So we should have some more announcements about that coming soon. girls baseball development, we'll again be hosting virtual programming, but also getting back to in-person programming, we hope, with kind of a bit of a modified schedule towards the second half of the year. So we're really excited to get back on the field and support these athletes again. If you would like to ask us any questions, to contact us at all, please do. So if you have questions about the professional development side, you can email takethefield@mlb.com. If you have questions about the youth development side or just about on-field baseball development generally, you can email girlsbaseball@mlb.com. And you can also check out some of our websites. So mlb.com/diversity and inclusion for the professional development, and playball.org for all of our youth baseball endeavors and programs. For social media, I think that the best place for you to look would be at MLB Develops, which highlights a lot of the elite players who are in our girls baseball development programming. So I'd really like to thank you for having me. I hope this was helpful to you and you've learned something here. But again, please do not hesitate to contact us with any questions. We're very excited about these programs. We're excited about the success we've had in the first few years. And we're excited to see kind of where it takes us in the next few years. So thank you again so much for having me. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the other sessions as well. Thank you.